Okay, thank you. Good evening. So, welcome to another session. We are looking at discerning parenting. And what we're doing here is to look at a framework that could guide us to more effective and successful parenting. And that framework looks at 4 different approaches that children would use to navigate through life, if you want to look at it that way. So what we're looking at here, we're not looking at a label to put on our children to say, this is you and this is your style, and therefore this is how we're going to respond to you. We want to understand that these approaches, I like to look at it as toolkits when we're looking at adults, but these preferences, these ways of behaving can be changed within a blinking of an eye. So now the child could be using one style in this minute, and then the next minute they are using another style. So it is not very helpful to be looking to say, what label should I place on you? The critical thing for parents, and when I'm saying parents now, I'm talking about any adult who is dealing with children. It could be your neighbor, it could be somebody at church, it could be a niece, a grandchild. What we're saying here is that try to identify the characteristics of these 4 approaches, these 4 sets of behaviors, if you want to put it that way, that can be exhibited by the child, and to then not only identify the behaviors, but then understand the best approach to dealing with those behaviors. So that's what we want to look at. So having said that, most of us, even from a young age, exhibit a preference for 1, 2, maybe even 3 of these behavioral styles. So yes, they might recur. So you might fall into the trap of saying, okay, fine, this is, my child is like this, because basically most of the time they behave like that. Nothing is wrong with that. All I'm saying though is understand that when the year moves and the child is behaving in another way, that you also recognize that other approach, that other set of behaviors, and respond appropriately to that. The other thing to understand as well is that we want to develop rounded citizens. So even if the child's preference is for, let us say, the D style, or what we want to deal with today, the S style, it is useful for you to help them to become more comfortable using the other styles. So what you really want, and whatever age you are, that's where you really want to get to a place where you reduce your discomfort with using each one of the styles. And let me tell you why that is so important. It is important because different circumstances require different behaviors. And one of these styles is best suited to every situation. Let me say that again. One of these styles is best suited to every situation. So therefore, if you are less uncomfortable using the style, then you might find yourself in a situation where you are able to comfortably bring up the style that's best suited to the situation. Let me give you for instance. Let us say that a relative, somebody has lost a close relative, father, mother, whatever, and you are visiting that person. Now, if your style, if your preferred style is the D style, which is, always basically on the move, very conscious of time, want to go on, I'm suggesting that if you decide to visit the family, that you put that aside. It doesn't make sense for you to come in and to say, you know, oh, I'm here, and you're looking at your watch every minute, and you know, the person could see that you're really kind of passing through, and you're in a hurry to go. It probably was better that you didn't visit. So in that situation, it would be good if the person could have felt more comfortable using the S style, in which case they would be there to show greater empathy. They would be able to actually be more patient, understanding, be better able to sense what's going on with the family and to share their grief. That's the kind of thing that we're talking about. So as a rounded individual, even though this is not your natural style, even though this is not how you would prefer to act, it makes sense to get less uncomfortable, and put it this way, to get less uncomfortable using all four styles, because there are going to be situations in which one style is better for that situation. We're not saying overall that any style is better, but we are saying in this unique situation, this style works best. So I hope that I've sort of set the platform here, that what we're saying then is that we're not trying to put people into little boxes and to say, okay, this is where you are. And thank you, Brother Smith and Brother Andre, for giving me a label to put on my child. That's not the idea. The idea is that here are, let me go back and probably do it. Brother Andre, step in please anytime. Let me go back and look at the underpinnings, where this thing came from. Actually, so I'm not going to go into any big psychology, not that anyway. Carl Jung, maybe 100 years now ago, looked at how people respond to life, to the environment. And what he says is that we can classify the responses in 4 different groups. Remember what he's saying? He's saying he can classify our approaches to navigating through life. He's not saying he can classify people into 4 groups. It's a fundamental difference. He's saying, if you look at how the strategies, the approaches, I like to call it the toolkits. So we have four big toolkits with all sorts of different tools within each toolkit. And he's saying, we have a preference. We can classify the toolkits into 4 bags, 4 groups. And then some of us have a preference for 1, maybe 2, even 3. So that's the concept. The suggestion is that as we are parenting, as we are helping young ones to grow up and to mature, the key is to expose them as much as possible to each of the toolkits. Help them to be less uncomfortable. Notice I'm saying it this way because it might not come naturally, but help them to become less uncomfortable using each one of the toolkits. And the key to that is to also help them to understand when one set of tools, when you're cutting lumber, that's not the best time to use a screwdriver. It's really, the saw would really do a better job. And that's one of the things that we want to get even from a young age, because we see this is part of, by the way, emotional intelligence that we want to crave at old, when we get bigger. Right then and there, if we start to show young ones which tool works best in which situations, then we're going to develop better balanced individuals and help them to be emotionally and socially intelligent even from a young age. So that's the key to understand when we're going through this process. It's not a labeling process. It is a process of saying, here are options. This option works best here. Learn that, understand that. Understand that even with your preference, that is not going to work as well. It's not going to come across as well. Go ahead, Brother Andre.
No, I was just giving you the thumbs up on everything that you're saying. I don't have anything to add literally. Fabulous. That's all I have to say. Fabulous.
Okay, thank you. No, let me tell you why I'm doing this. um, well, I've been doing this stuff for a long time. And, oh boy, maybe it is more intelligent. It is supposed to be more educated persons that have a difficulty with this, where I've got it, you know, okay, fine, okay. And then walk away. Okay, my child is S, my child is D, and they've lost it. From you go down that road, you're losing it. I'm not saying that you're not, when they say that this child has a preference, etc. But if you don't go to the deeper level now to understand that, yes, this preference is fine, but you're not going to exhibit all of this preference all the time. And as a parent, as a person interacting with you, I need to be sensitive to when you have changed gear, when you have moved to another toolkit, and to respond appropriately to that. But I'm going deeper today. I'm saying no, we must also help the child to understand that in life, the one size is not going to fit all. Help the child to understand from an early age that a certain style of behavior doesn't work so well in every situation. Again, let us look at it. The child might be self-directed. We talked about the dominance. The child might be independent in their thinking, and we not want to discourage them from that. You want them to be able to stand up to what they believe in and hold fast and so on. But at some point in time, compliance is required. At some point in time, compliance is required. So we have to get the child to understand that, yes, it is good for you to have a mind of your own and to, you know, determine what it is that you want to do. But that doesn't work in every situation. In this situation, you need to be compliant. And moving into the compliance zone shouldn't be a crisis. It shouldn't be a cause for the throwing of tantrums. It shouldn't be, we just understand that under different circumstances, different approaches are required. Yeah? If the child is, again, very self-directed, wants to be in charge all the time, parents need to help them with their playing with others, to say, give this other person a chance. That's how people live successfully. I know you want to lead and I know you want to be in charge, but there are circumstances where if you want to develop healthy relations with others, you have to also give them a chance. You have to learn to be a follower. That's a big problem that we have, by the way, in our society, is that people are poor followers. We talk all the time now about leadership crisis. For a long time now, I've been saying it. Maybe I should write a thesis on this, is that what we have is not a leadership crisis. We have a followership crisis. Is that people just don't want to follow. Everybody wants to do their own thing. If we start to train the young ones to understand that there comes a time when being led is the appropriate action, it will help. It will help before this need to be the decider at all times gets so entrenched that we start to have a problem. That's all I'm suggesting. So get to understand the toolkits, get to understand the characteristics of the behavior, and see the extent to which you can help the young ones that you're working with to better navigate through them, help to understand them, help to get into the mindset as how people who behave like this think, so that you better understand it. So that these, you know, this person is not slow and stupid and man can't bother wait on them. It is more, okay, come to a place where you better understand that some persons want to reflect before they act. Some persons want to understand the situation before they jump in. Not everybody wants to be making quick decisions, etc. So if you start to understand those things, then it's also going to reduce the friction. It's going to reduce the conflict because you now understand what's happening on the other side. Yeah. So on the other, let me make sure that I'm equal across. So on the other side, this person is not necessarily a bully and always want to push you around. Yeah, they want to win, they want to move faster. So some of that might come across a little pushy. Try to understand what's going on, what's promoting this. Come in, Andre, please.
Well, I was trying to unmute. I mean, I think we can just go straight into the S style now. Personally, I think you have given enough, what's the word I'm looking for? Backdrop information, caution, if I can use that word, and I just want to re-emphasize something that you stated: the styles that you know, we might be a little bit more preferential to use. We might need to slow that down and work on the styles that we are not so comfortable in utilizing. And why so? Because as you have stated, I think very clearly, there's different situations that's going to warrant a particular behavioral style, and you want to ensure that you do not drown that style, but you encourage it. You know, if encouraging is necessary, or by extension, you know, let them know that, okay, this might not be the appropriate style to utilize at this point in time, especially in relation to this situation.
Right.
So I think you have laid the foundation, and you know, for us to go forward. You know, yeah.
All right, so let us look at the S style. So we have looked at the self-directed, we have looked at the influence style, and now we're going to look at teacher's pet. By the way, that's a fact. This is the style that teachers love. They don't give any trouble, they're very compliant, they just really are, you know. This is the person that's going to bring a apple for the teacher and so on. Generally, as a fact, and by the way, in the statistics, because we have global statistics, this style is the most used style across populations. I don't know of any other populations that where the S style is not the largest percentage of persons. So this is mostly what you're going to meet. This is usually the first style that you encounter in life, because these tend to be your caregivers and your early childhood teachers and all of that. So a lot of your socialization is going to come from this style. Yeah, so that's good. Yes, there are some downsides to it, but generally this is good. Right. So that's the S style. So let us look at part of, if you want to look at the underpinning, the mindset, what drives this style. One of the things is I suppose, if you want to call it self-sacrifice, yeah, they're willing to accept the situation without trying to rock the boat, etc. And I think S-style philosophy basically is that God gives us sun, God gives us rain, we just need to take them when they come. Yeah. So if you're out, didn't set up, and suddenly you get caught in a torrential shower without any umbrella or anything, so it is. Yeah. So that's part of the philosophy, is that, yeah, sometimes we want the rain, and it just come at this time when I wasn't really planning for it, but yeah, it's good. The plants will be watered, and the dams will be filled. So let's move on. Go home and dry off myself, and move on. So that's part of the mindset. And even in the young ones, you find some children are more fussy than others, and some are more understanding. Yeah, even from an early age, that they don't always get what they want, and that they seemingly accept things that go away that they weren't planning to. Let me go through this, but I want to just stick a pin in it, is that some of it, and we need to watch out for this, is that also some of it could be internalized. So be careful. The fact that there is not a fuss about the situation doesn't mean that the matter is resolved. And I think we have done internal conflict in another one of our sessions to talk about that conflict is not necessarily expressed outside, and internal conflict is an issue. So you might give instructions, or something might not go the way that the person wants, and you figure that, okay, fine, they've just accepted it and moved off, but it might not have been resolved in their mind. And we know what happens when we allow conflict, or, and conflict basically is the unsatisfied need. So if we allow unsatisfied needs to build up, it can be a problem. So yeah, I'm getting ahead of myself, but I think the context is important for me to talk about. And so that's one of the problems that we have across styles now, where, for example, a dominant parent might say to the child, go and do as I say. Do it because I tell you to do it. And the child dutifully goes and does what they are told. And the parent feels comfortable in themselves that, okay, I'm the parent. I'm the parent. That, if you keep on doing that, that's not healthy for the child. And I tell you, anecdotally, parents can talk about this, maybe, is that a lot of those children, they just go through that life continually until, bam, you happen to send them to university, yeah? And they're on campus, and you're not there anymore. And they have not learned to make good choices on their own, because you have given up, you have taken that away from them. You have just said to them, do what I tell you to do. And you haven't given them the skill sets to look at situations and to make rational decisions on their own. You have not given them the opportunity to develop the skills to say, no, I am tempted to do that. That is appealing, but I'm not going to do it because it's not right. It doesn't make sense. All of those things. You have taken that away from them. And so basically, they just go through, and then suddenly they find themselves with this freedom, and nobody there to back commands at them. And we have seen it where, as we say in Jamaica, they broke out. They broke out because you didn't give them the foundation. So be careful that we don't misunderstand this failure to push back, as a D style would do. The child who is self-determined, the independent child who is going to push back. Be careful that we do not mistake that for acceptance, for buying in, for saying, yeah, okay, fine, I'm okay with this. Go, boss.
Okay. Spot on. It is sometimes, while university, I am saying also though that because they internalize that pain, they literally develop anger management issues because they do not have the freedom to be, literally. They do not have the freedom to express themselves as the D style would. And say, no, I don't want to be like, I don't want this teeth, I don't want that, but instead them cut them nose and take the medicine. Right? And then now, the unique thing now is, Brother Smith, is that they go and have a conversation now with a D style child that's going to influence them to do differently. Just say that, and I can't say anything else. I'm go ahead of the thing, but that's what I have to say.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, that's true. And so that's oh boy, we really gone on the road, because that's what happens, and they fall in line and follow that leader, because guess what? They are so trained to follow authority that yes, and that's what happens. And you find that now that's fall in line with a strong personality, somebody who drives them and they get themselves into trouble. And you could say to yourself, and you find parents in that situation, they are saying, wow, I didn't see that. This could be the child that I have. I'm amazed that this is how they have turned out. When really and truly, that has been building up in them a long time. Yeah? So, yep. Sorry. Yeah, Alexis says, spot on, very good message. Yeah, these are, so yeah, I would just want to, why I'm spending so much time at the beginning and participants here, is that in the work that we do, right, in terms of looking at behavioral styles at the adult level and so on, primarily, this style doesn't come up as an issue. When a manager calls us in, it's usually a D-style individual or even the I-style who they want to, get to settle down, etc. And so, because this is this wheel is not squeaking, etc., this is overlooked, and so increasingly now, when I'm dealing with the framework, I'm spending a little bit more time speaking about the dangers here, because this style gets neglected in terms of attention, in terms of trying to understand a little bit better what's going on there, because of the peace that comes, and the people just feel that they're okay, and they're not necessarily okay. Yeah. All right. So there's a reluctance to rock the boat, and this feeling of that persons in charge know best, and they are going to respect you and so on. And we find this going up even through the ages, that there is a respect for authority. There is a respect for you until, and we're going to get to that at some point. There's a lot of preamble today, but we're going to get to that at some point where we understand that that respect is there, that loyalty, that trust is there until something happens to break. And that's a very dangerous place when you get to the S-style, when you break that trust, because a lot of what happens in S-style land, it relates to trust. Yeah? So Tessa is asking, how do we help the child to internalize less? Conversation, discussion. As a matter of fact, today I have this Blinkist thing that I listened to, and the person was saying that they might not open up initially, but there's a suggestion that I think last week I spoke about a space that we sit down in terms of our disciplining, our downloading when the child is getting on. The suggestion is that you should have a place, a designated spot that you go to with the child, and the understanding is that in that spot you can talk. So maybe initially they won't open up, but after a while they will be encouraged to feel free to talk. And maybe one of the things that you could be doing then is sharing some of your challenges, some of your deficiencies, the things that you have been hiding from the child, etc. So they understand if you make yourself vulnerable in that situation, then maybe they will be feeling a lot freer to share Go ahead, sir.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Does that. Get the children to say "ihi," you know, get them into the "ihi" mode. The "ihi." So especially for the S style, you have to get them to say "ihi achu," "ihi achu," because they need to feel safe to talk. So sometimes it might mean that you have to be vulnerable yourself, or talk about let them know that, hey, I am vulnerable to certain things. And they say, you know, so first is that, I never know that. So they feel safe now to share too. They say, me too. I too have this vulnerability. I too have this issue. I too don't want to, you know. So it might sound as if to say, I know sometimes we are very, what's the word I'm looking for? We're afraid to so we parent with a consequence, you know, with consequences, you know. So we say, don't do this or this will happen, don't do this or this will happen. And this is why a lot of times, especially the S style, in fear of the consequences, will comply too. So they need to feel free to say, so what if I don't comply? If you can get them to even feel free to say, what if I don't comply? What can happen? Is it that I get punished? Is it that? Is it this? Is it that? So you get them to feel free to talk about, you know, something. My actions show that I comply, but my mind says I don't want to, and I do not have an arena where I can talk my mind. Finish.
And you know, in that scenario, Andre, you can use stories as well. You know, if you want to expose yourself to say, well, this is me. You can say, you know, there is a story of a lady or a young girl or whatever, and use stories to help them to put themselves in that kind of shoe. And I think that is important as well. Go on, man.
I was just saying, excellent. Yes, totally agree.
All right. Okay, so they want to cooperate. This is why this style is so well liked, in the sense that they have been in trouble, they're willing to cooperate, they want to support. Wonderful, right? Bear in mind though, not better, not worse. So none of the styles better or worse. Okay, big up all of them as we go forward. And there's a caring for others and a sensitivity to the feelings of others. Yeah. So different things reside in the 4 toolkits, and this toolkit is the empathy toolkit, if you want to look at it. Is the caring. This is the toolkit where we go to maybe to be more humane, more human, or understand the value and importance of others. This is the toolkit where that is. Not that other people don't, but what I'm saying to you, this toolkit emphasizes more that kind of connection, that kind of putting myself in the shoes of others. Yeah. So again, if we're looking at the system, the framework, in terms of a development point of view, then you want all children to get to a place where they come to this, where they understand this, you know, cooperating, understand, caring, being sensitive. So you do want to encourage all children, whatever their preferences, to understand the S-style toolkit, the S-style behaviors, and to respect it and to adopt it. Yes. They are persons in very high places who seemingly didn't get that from their parents. Yes, that they are going through life devoid of any kind of exposure in this area. I'm not calling any names. All right. So what are some of the characteristics of the S-style behavior? There's a tendency to speak softly, and with respect and a certain level of warmth, so you feel welcome. Tend to speak with a calm and friendly tone. This again resides here, this capacity to listen. And it's not only with a friendly ear, it's actually listening from inside the shoes of others. I've been thinking that there needs to be a degree course on listening, because listening is a competence that is required, and it is sorely missing in our lives. But that capacity to really listen and to understand the nuances of what the individual is saying, that is one of the traits of the S style. Not interrupting, listening, and really getting where you are. There's a tendency to maintain eye contact. And this again is relevant in the context of trust. As we talk about the S style, always have in your mind the word trust. Trust is critical to style. I suppose because of the connections, of the caring and the sensitivity, etc. But trust is important. Okay? Patient, yes. This is where patience has its birth and its residence. Yeah. So whereas other styles are jumping up and excited and so on, for example, in the adult stage, we go to the bank, and the bankers pre-COVID had all of these lines, and they put in more dividers so that they can have more people in the hall. So you have somebody at the back, a Trevor saying, "Hey, we put out more tellers." Yeah. And you have the S-style individual that take out the crossword puzzle. And just, okay, that's all right. I don't have to go back in the traffic right now, so I'm cool. So that's part of it as well, is this capacity to wait and not be overwhelmed with that process. Yeah? And so that's one of the things as well now that would help our children. When they want the water, they want a sandwich, or they want it now, and mommy is busy doing something else. Yeah, a little listening in patience is useful. All right. Right, now looking at the other side. So again, they tend to be very cooperative, and when you ask them to do something, there's a tendency to say yes. Okay, now we're not talking about the other side yet. In terms of this, be careful as well that the overcommitment, that's one of the concerns that people have now about the frontline workers. A lot of them are going to be a style person who are going to, might actually be down and work the hours, etc., and still want to go back because of their commitment to get things done. You have to be careful then that we also teach some level of protecting self. Yes, it's always good to make the sacrifice, but also if you so wear down yourself or put yourself in a situation where you are not able to help, then you can't help. So you need to be mindful that there is a limit to which you need to serve others. Understand that? Yeah. You want to love your neighbor, but it also says, as you love yourself, so you need to love yourself as well. Okay, what else? Steadiness. There's a reliability factor with respect to the S-style that let us talk about a mountain climbing expedition. It's easier for me to use examples for the adults, but let's just see if we can find some more. Is that the climbing and the D and the I style, moving up, and when they look back, they see that the terrain is very similar to the terrain up above, and they are saying, okay, fine, been there, done that, let's move over to somewhere else. but it is the S style that understands that until we plant the flag at the top of this mountain, we have not conquered it. And they are the ones that will continue and push forward. That's a sort of steady reliability that goes on. It's not a jackrabbit, start, It is steady, 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 steady. And at the end, we're going to be there. We're going to achieve our goals. And that's what we will find with young ones, is that they might not move as fast. They might not, maybe even in school, academically, they might not seem to get it as quickly as the others. But by their steady progress, at the end of the day, they get the results that are required. And so, again, different parents might be there. And if you are on the right side into DI, you might be a little concerned to, that the child doesn't move as quickly, or, when I say it, I'm not talking about physically moving, but there are things that you might want them to grab onto and to do, and they're a little bit more reflective than you might want. Understand that. Steady progress also gets the job done. In some of the instances, you have people that go forward and then they move back, and they go forward and move back. That's not their style. They tend to have a process, and they follow it, and they follow it, and they follow it. Right. They tend to be shy. They don't necessarily want to be on the front line. So that's just part of the challenge that you have with the child, where, you want to go. Everybody, depending on the age, when they have the school concerts and so on, you would love to see them on the front line and whatever. But some of them have a real problem dealing with that, right? And we have to be careful then that our desire for them to be the lead star up front and comfortable might not put them under immense pressure. That's something that you have to think about, because not everybody is comfortable. Well, even adults have problems, in terms of public speaking. That's why people make a bag of money coaching people, in that area. So let's just be careful how we impose our desire, or so you'll be there, yes, sitting down in the audience, and you would love to have your child, be the star and say all the things, etc. But it could be putting some immense pressure on them. Go ahead, sir.
I was going to say I have found, but you are the expert here, so
No, sir.
So let me not say I have found, but I guess it's more like a question / comment or what have you, and you can straighten it out. But do you find though that although they are shy, they still do not want to be taken for granted? I mean, you must still ask me. You still think you're so I don't want the limelight, but show your appreciation for what I've done. I don't know. Sorry.
Brilliant. No, that's one of the things that we talk about. Absolutely. Well, again, I have to use the adult one because it comes naturally to me. One of the things that we have is that in the workplace now, S-style individual, they want to do, let us say they plan the function, and it's brilliant, right? Now, I don't necessarily want you to call me up on stage and to get a nice round of applause to say, Trevor, you did a great job here. But boss, make very, very sure that you come to me quietly and let me know that you appreciate what I've done and I did a great job. And if you want to write a memo and put it on my file, that's even better. So for you, that's just brilliant, actually. I don't want to be in the limelight, but please don't ignore me. Don't fail to appreciate what it is that I'm doing. Remember, I don't have the confidence, some people would say arrogance, of the D and the I. So I need that affirmation. I need to get the confirmation that I'm all right, that I'm doing well. And you need to understand that with the children as well. Is give them the reinforcement. Yes? Important. Yeah. Somebody says that I told my wife once that I love her, I have to tell her again. It don't work like that. It don't work like that. So you need the reinforcement. You need the reinforcement. Okay? And that's very important because some children have the built-in confidence. Even when they might be making missteps, they're still very confident. Some are very, very cagey, doubtful, they're not sure. Let me give you an example from school, a school environment. No? So, as I said, there's homework, okay? I like these anecdotes. We call them funecdotes. So there's schoolwork. So Miss gives the homework, but I should write it up on the board or whatever. D goes home, thinks he has got whatever it is that is being asked, and comes and presents his work the next day. And Miss says, but Trevor, that's not what I asked you to do. And he's thinking in his mind, but you think that I'm a mad person. Why would I go home and do homework that you didn't give me? And from the time you're teaching, he's not saying this obviously because he'll be expelled, but from the time you're teaching, you should be able to give homework with some clarity that we don't have the situation. Because obviously he's not taking any blame. It couldn't be his fault. Well, you know that situation is that I was actually teaching the class when the homework was being given. So I didn't actually do the homework at home, but scrambled something before Miss come. And while he had it clear, probably getting 60% instead of the 100 that he could have done. Now, S asked Miss in the class, kind of put up her hand nervously. So Miss, she wants some clarification. But when she goes home, she's still not very sure. So she takes her telephone and she calls Antoinette and she asks Antoinette, Antoinette, is this what Miss wants us to do? It said, yeah. Because the last thing she wants is to be embarrassed, that's how she would see it, in class if Miss is saying, what is this? So that's one of the things that we have to understand is that there is, by the end, we just finish it by saying that C, when we go there, goes home and does the Google internet search and finds that the theory that Miss is teaching has been outdated now for a little while. And he comes back with a document that suggests to Miss that she should update her content. So while C-style is compliant and peaceful, is not teacher's friend because he tends to ask some questions that put teacher under pressure. But I use that anecdote to talk about that reinforcement, the need for reinforcement. Somebody's mic'd up? Somebody wants to share? No? Okay, all right. So the supportive, very supportive, very, very supportive. Always willing, wanted to help, etc., to be a part of the process. How can I help in this area? So encourage that, because that's one of the things that we want in our lives. We want people that are willing to look outside of themselves and to look, to be helpful to others. Yeah. So same thing, the same idea, the service orientation, willingness to understand where people are and to address their needs. All right. Sensitive, Okay. Let me explain that. Physically, again, the right side tends to be a lot more insulated. For the S style understands that words have meaning. Remember the trust factor. Remember we don't do harm to others. Remember we, are always kind and so on. So when anything comes up is not closely aligned to what they perceive as being kind and supportive and helpful, then it stings. There is a hurt, and that hurt sometimes can last longer than it would be for maybe other styles. So that's something to understand, that some of the styles are different. When you're in a particular mood, it's different, and they would tend to look at things more deeply, read deeper into the things. Maybe that's why they can stand in your shoes, is that they think more, they attach more meaning to things. And so you might make a casual statement, which on reflection maybe you shouldn't have, but it might not land well, and it might not be as easily ignored as other styles might. And again, we're talking about children who might internalize and who might not say something, right? So a careless word by a parent or a teacher or an adult, aunt, etc., could impact that child for life, literally for life, because they're going to ruminate on it. That's part of the characteristics of this style, is that they might ruminate on things longer than others. So whereas this style might say, forget that, this style might actually internalize it more, might think about it more, might want clarity as to why this happened, etc., and deepen the hurt if they don't get a fulsome, or what they regard as a fulsome apology. So just understand that you say something to me, it doesn't land well with me. I come to you and I try to find out why is it, what is it, what caused you to say this, with the aim that you would recognize that you had a misstep and you should apologize. And when that doesn't come, or when worse, you would double down on it and to say, where come to me then? Okay, that then deepens the wound. Right? So we have to understand that and to recognize this. Of course, when we're going to coach the S style, one of the things that we would coach them to look at is to look at statements, understand that people are going to say things in life that you might not always want. How do you deal with that? Are you going to internalize and keep it, or are you going to do what Brother Andre will do, which is to say no thank you? So come in, no thank you.
What I was going to say is that in terms of the children, sometimes the children might insist to get an apology. You need to say, I'm sorry. Mommy never says sorry, you need to say sorry. And it seems as if the only way that they are released into functioning again is unless the other child apologizes, so to speak. So just to back up what you're stating there, and I'm just giving an example to it, just attaching an example to it in terms of, I need to hear, mommy never says sorry, you need to say I'm sorry. Or even as adults, but since we deal with children, but the word sorry, seem to release them to function again, so to speak.
But part of it comes from parenting as well,
Yes.
One of the things that we do with it, as the parent now, is that we teach the child to say they're sorry, because you want to do that. So one of the things you have to look at then is the other side of it now, where you're saying, tell them, go and tell them that you're sorry, and you insist, even though they're crying and walking, whatever it is, no, you have to go and tell them you're sorry. So hearing the word "I'm sorry" becomes also an important factor. And so that's where you end up now with the other situation now, where I can't let it go until the person said they are sorry. Why this parenting thing, generally, it's difficult, because here it is, you're saying, yeah, we want people to own up to their mistakes and to be apologetic, to understand if you hurt somebody that you are sorry. But if, and especially when that is being done now in the context where the other person is there, then we develop a scenario in which this matter cannot be resolved until somebody says sorry. And we learn that. So that basically, if I'm going through life, Brother Andre said this to me, I cut at him until him saying sorry, because that's how we were trained. Life is difficult, Baba. Trust me. All right, yeah. So that's part of it. But understand that it's not just a pass by. That the words are going to probably mean more. So be careful. Choose your words carefully, and teach them also that words mean things. You know, children can say some very nasty things, etc. What you want to do is to train your child to say that. Yeah, you hear others doing it, but you don't do it, because words have meaning, and it can hurt people. You know, you don't go around punching people, hopefully. So don't go around saying nasty things about them. All right, so there's a tendency to be single-minded, focus on one thing at a time. And that's, by the way, is manifested in our socialization. Remember I tell you the S-style is a lot of, do a lot of our socialization. And I don't hear it anymore, no, but I was totally taught one thing at a time, and that done well. Yes. Anybody know those statements? Right? Or once a job has been begun, never leave it till it's done. So if I turn on my TV and I'm watching a movie and it is really that boring, no, you have started it, you gotta finish it. Right? So yeah, but that single-mindedness is there. And by the way, the science is now saying that you really can't multitask. So maybe Estelle had it covered from before. But what am I saying about that now is that sometimes there's a conflict in the home where, again, the child is focused on this one thing, but the parent wants them to go and do something else. And, you know, they really would prefer to focus on what they're doing and get that done and then move on. Tessa, you had a comment you want to make? Okay, sorry, I saw you coming up. All right, sentiment, yeah. Things have value. They get attached to things. In the adult age, you go to the person's home and you have little trinkets, little this, whatever it is that come down from grandma, this or grandpa, that, or ladies' handbag, all sorts of other little things in there. You borrow a book and it's written down and you need to return it. There's things, not that they're, you know, it's not so much from a money point of view, it's just that this is my thing. And so you go to office where all the pens and so on are provided by the company, but yet still when you have my pen, you see a nice wraparound with, you know, tape that says Trevor, so that when I lend it to you, I want back my pen. Right? The company's pen, yeah, well, you go get your own, but no, don't take mine. So those are some of the things that you attach. And so if you understand that, to don't take my toy and give it to a neighbor or somebody else. You know, it's my toy. Okay, fine. I have not played with it for 2 years or more, but it is whose toy? My toy. Don't give it away. It's my toy. All right. Just understand that there is a link. It's a whatever. And again, it's not necessarily like accumulating wealth, or it's not from that perspective. It's just that this is my thing, and it has a sentiment. Yeah. Somebody. Okay. No. All right. Background noise. Okay. So that understand that as well in terms of supporting them. Yeah. Move a little faster here. All right. Sameness, what does that mean? It means it's part of the idea that I don't have to be upfront, etc. It's easier for me to blend in because then I don't have to stand out. So I'm not going to come and ask you to braid my hair with purple and green and, you know, unnecessary. I would prefer to just be a normal person that just blend in, not to stand out. So we have to be careful again now that if we tend to be more outgoing and, you know, flashy, etc., we might choose fashion statements for the child with which they're not comfortable. One suggestion is that from a very early age, you again part of the decision making, helping them to develop. Let them choose. Let them choose what they want to wear. Okay, fine. Yes, it's not really much. In which case is that you can educate, but give them some latitude as to what it is that how you want them to appear in public. I don't know if that makes sense. Not hearing a lot from the audience, and I don't really want this to be a sermon. What are your thoughts on that? Should you impose your fashion style on the child, or is it helpful, even from an early age, to give them some latitude in terms of choosing what it is that they wear and how they put things together? Anybody want to share on that? I feel like we're just rambling here by ourselves. No? Okay. All right, let's move down. Straightforward. Yeah, these are not, this style, when you're in this mode, you're not complex. You just really want a simple life. You just want to do things. A plus B, whatever. 1 plus 1 is 2, and we just move on. It's not any complex situation. I want to spend a little time on this submissive area. Because this is a danger from two sides. One, you don't want to raise a child that's too submissive, because as a matter of fact, people will tell you, people who, you know, work in the area that we work in here like this is an immediate coaching for somebody with a style. You can just start by saying to you, be less submissive. You know, it's automatic. It's one of the first things you can say that could make a significant difference to their success. Is to try to see how you can get them to be less submissive. Whether it is they mean, you know, becoming more daring, raising their courage, being able to speak out, etc. But that's key. So that's danger from that. This side is if you allow them to continue to be unwilling to confront, unwilling to rock the boat, we could have problems. And we talked about it earlier now, where they could actually fall in line with an authoritative figure and follow people down a path that they shouldn't. When you consider, what's the man that went to Guyana? That, you know, that people actually go and drink the poison, you know.
Jim Jones.
Yeah, Jim Jones, yeah. So that's what I'm saying to you. Be careful that you don't develop people who could actually get into this crowd thing and just follow herd. So my suggestion is that it's easier for you, it's a peaceful life, to have a child that you say, go, and they disappear, come and they appear. But be careful of what you're setting them up to do. The other side now is where you, when you get into older ages, like because we're looking at children, we're still talking teens, young, there. So where you feel as if you can take advantage of bullies at school, people that just keep coming back and taking advantage, etc. Be mindful that this submissiveness has a limit. All right. So let's talk about emotional bank account. Wow. Yeah. That's probably the last thing we do today. But I didn't want to rush through this. So we'll be back in 2 weeks. So we just set that up for first and the third. It's not 2 weeks. Wow. It will be the 1st of August. Are we going to do that? All right. Yeah. It'll be the 1st of August. So we have to decide whether we want to do that. No. But let's talk about emotional bank account. And then we really take some questions. So all of us operate this emotional bank account. We're not suggested to talk about it from an adult point of view. So you do something, and how the S-Style operate their account is that they give one big overdraft. So what happens is that if you do something nice, it's a deposit. You do something that is unpleasant, something that is hurtful, and so on, that's a withdrawal. This style don't give no overdraft. So you better make sure that you keep your account in credit. The S-Style actually gives overdraft. So you do something unpleasant, not nice, forgive. Yeah, maybe he wasn't really thinking. You find whatever is excuse that you want to accept it. It happens again, more excuses. Yeah. Until something happens where it comes across that these things that you're doing arise from a lack of trust, a lack of respect, in which case the S-Style then calls the account to book and to say, you need to settle this account or close the account. And what usually happens then is that you not only close the account, they close the bank, and then they close the street to the bank. And what I'm saying there is that you need to understand that you can actually push the S-Style to a place where the relationship breaks down and there's virtually no recovery. That's something that you have to understand. And especially right side, understand that, yeah, you feel that because of the submission, because of, the no pushback, that you can just go on and ram. It's just like, you might have a scared dog, but if you back them up in the corner, then they have to come forward. And so that's where the S-Style. And I'm saying, so be careful that you don't misunderstand weakness for weakness, and that you don't actually push the person to the point where the relationship falls apart, to the point where there's absolutely no way forward. All right. I think there's a chat. Andre, Okay. Althea, please go ahead. Althea Smith, I see your hand raised. There's another Althea. Okay. Not me. Okay. Okay. All right. So yeah, so that's your emotional bank account, and that it relates to the submission. So I wanted us to look at 2 points quickly here. One of them is that please encourage the child to be able to speak up and not be totally afraid of expressing themselves. A little courage, a little understanding that you need to be able to not just accept everything, that you can in fact push back, and that it is respectable to push back, and that, you know, if you fail to address your needs and to address your concerns, you're not helping the other person. It is not impolite, really, to suggest to Brother Andre that, Brother Andre, when you speak to me like this, I'm not hearing you as well as I could if you know, didn't use certain words in it, and if you didn't speak with the same decibel level. It's all right. It's good. Maybe he didn't understand this, and you know, it helps the relationship. So it is not good always now to think that it is the polite and you don't want to hurt the person, etc. It is helpful to both parties for you to be able to express your concerns, and you will always be polite. So you don't have to worry about, you know, speaking to them in polite way. You're going to find a nice, polite way to say it, but you need to get the message across that this is not something that is going across very well. Go ahead, sir.
Earlier you mentioned the idea that you know, a behavior that we find sometimes in the S style is the fact that you know, they are, well, let's go to the word even submissive then. I have found, and maybe you can clear this up, maybe in my head, but oh yes, that they don't let go of things so easily. That's what I wanted to say. That they
right,
don't
okay,
let go
right.
of things so easily,
right.
and find that are they, do they feel victimized by their circumstances? I guess that's the question I'm asking. Do they feel victimized by their circumstances, and do they ruminate on it? And maybe say sometimes are afraid to come forward because there's so much, because they feel like victims. Anger is what is building up inside of them, and a lot of anger is building up inside of them. And so even when they do try to tiptoe and come, and if, as I said earlier, if the other person double down and say, "Well, come to me with that for," then in their minds, you know what happened? It's time for me to burst. or I feel like I have no other choice but to burst because you're not getting it. Imagine I tried this, I tried that, I parked the fight as one, so I didn't show you I need the boss, so all of those things. And now when I'm trying to for peace sake, because for peace sake is what drives me or in my mind. And imagine I'm really just trying to still maintain the peace. I just want to have a clarity, understanding, and yet instead I get pushback. This is not time for you to push back. And so do they almost feel justified in their reaction? That's the question.
Okay, yeah, tough question. And of course it's behavior, so there's no, you know, it's not
hard and fast, yeah.
I can't add up 1 and 2 and 3 and say, okay,
right.
No, that's 4. But let me just, my take on it is more from this perspective, that there is a sense that there should be harmony, that God made us to live in harmony, live in peace, that we should care for each other, etc. And so when you do this, I'm not saying that I'm just putting myself in that style. No, I'm not saying that I'm perfect. So if I do something that hurts you, then I'll be quick. I'll be ready to apologize. Just let me know. I really haven't set out to do it, and I've done it. So let me know, and I'll fix it, because we want to be in harmony. We want to live in peace. We want everybody to be okay. So the other thing now would be, so therefore, from my mindset, this is how I look at life. I'm looking at life there. When I hurt somebody, I am happy and ready to fix it, because we're supposed to live in harmony. So why, when it is on your foot, that's not your mindset? So that's where they're coming from, I think, primarily. I hear the victim side. I think the victim side is when they're about to close the bank account. So they may deal with it in two sides. So I think from that perspective is, but everybody, if we should have an ideal world, everybody should think like me. Everybody should be willing to sort things out and create an environment where there's no friction and there's no conflict. So that's the starting point, as I think, from me. All right. So two responses could come from the, you have done this to me, and the pushback is, welcome, man, go away with that foolishness. One of them could be that you clearly have not been brought up properly. And so I have sympathy for you, because your parents didn't do a particularly good job. But since that is the case, one reaction from my side would be, stay clear from you. So I'm not going to expose myself to your crassness on an ongoing basis. So the relationship can move from that point of view as well. All right. So that could be where now the shutting down, pulling down the shutters at the bank and the closing the street to the bank will come in, because I want to live in peace and harmony, etc. And your kind of behavior, I think we better keep apart from each other. Now, there is the other side. Now, let me try and see if I can address the victim side. Where the victim side comes in is, I think, where there's an aha moment, that information comes back from a source, or something triggers the information, the understanding that, my gosh, I mean, that all this time, when I thought that you were supportive of me, where you were actually undercutting me, knifing me in the back, or suppressing me in some kind of way. That's where now the real hurt comes, and that's where you could actually have a total negative response in terms of actual no, not just closing out, but actually hitting back out. For example, if the traditional one is relationship, romantic relationships, where the man and the woman, whatever it is, and one party finds out that the other party really and truly has been using them, and that then gets into vitriol. So I don't know if that answers or further confuses the issue, Brother Andre.
No,
but
not at all.
I understand enough. That's my take of it. Yeah.
Excellent.
All right. So just in terms of the logistics now, there are 5 Saturdays in August. On Engel says we could switch to the 8th and the 22nd to accommodate the holiday. All right. So that's it. All right. So we will send out the notice. Is there anybody who's in the meeting who has not got like a flyer? Who, because what we'd like to be able to do is to communicate with you, so that if there's a date change or anything, we can actually communicate so you know. We also want you to be able to bring others. So I'm suggesting, I'm asking, if you didn't mind, if you would actually share your email address and so that we can develop a database and share information with you. So if you're on and you're not in one of the lists, so that you're getting this information from an email or from WhatsApp, please share your information, whether it is your WhatsApp number or your email. One of the things that we always say is that we will not send you junk, right? So you don't have to worry, and we will not sell your contact information. All right, so thank you for your time. We spent more time on this, but as I said to you before, this style has been neglected in terms of spending time in terms of development, because they're quiet, they're peaceful, everybody think that they're okay, but that's not always the case. All right. Sherry, yes? You have the second?
Yes, good evening all. I just want to ask a question, just a suggestion. I've been enjoying the series and stuff, but I want to suggest some topics. I don't know. I heard Mr. Casey discussing one this week on Love 101 about husband de-stressing wives, and among other topics. So I was wondering if we could have topics like that on this, and also maybe persons who are courting or those who are single or something. Some of those other topics. Can those other topics be included as well?
Sure. As we're finished, we have done with some, and we are open, so we make a note to see where we are.
Okay.
Relationships.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so it's noted. Brother Andre. Okay. Yeah, so it's great content, great session. Thank you. Thank you for participating. Raquel says thank you much. Good stuff. Sir Smith. And pass over to...
Excuse me, Mr. Smith. Good evening, everybody. This is Raquel.
Yes.
Like Sherry is suggesting about additional topics, but in terms of this one that we're going to continue, that you're going to continue in August, if somebody sees it and they might have been on 2 previous ones, they might be wondering, you know, that they might not be aware that it's a continuation and it's new information, additional information. So maybe for the next flyer, maybe a little additional note or a little teaser, so that if the person that I'm sending it to and they see that DISCerning parents again, or what, you know, based on the topic based on the flyer that was sent, maybe you could put an additional information that teases them or sends a message that something is a continuation or an additional information will be coming in the next session.
Okay, thanks, appreciate it.
All right,
okay.
You're welcome.
All right. Brother Rowan or Engel, I don't know who wants to wrap up, or should I do that?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Smith. Thank you, Mr. Alan Casey, for your wonderful time and your contribution to supporting this forum. We truly appreciate the effort and the time invested in presenting these material, and as well as supporting the forum with your insights and knowledge and experience. And we truly are appreciative of all that has been shared so far. We truly are excited and encouraged from all the insights that we have gained through these sessions. As you mentioned, for those who are on our forum at this time who are not a part of our mailing list or not a part of our WhatsApp distribution list, we just kindly ask that you can share that with the admin. So you look at the participant list and you see the admin account, you can send a private message to the admin with your email address if you choose to, so that we can send the notifications regarding the change of dates or topics, as well as flyers, that you can get these and as well as share with others who you believe may benefit. Once again, as we close, a reminder that we say that we will meet on the 8th of August. The 8th of August will be our next session at the same link. We thank everyone for the time and for their contribution to the session this evening. So before we close, we will have a word of prayer, and then the room will be open for a little bit for anyone who wants to engage in the discussion, and then we are dismissed. Let us go to God in prayer. Almighty, most wonderful and everlasting Father, we thank you, dear God, for this session. We pray, Father, that as we learn the different styles that are manifested among children, we ask, oh Lord, that we pray that these discussions and the information that has been shared, that we truly, Father, will find it valuable and able, dear God, to practically apply, dear God, our knowledge in ways, dear God, that will help the development of our relationship with children, whether they are for our own or those that in our communities. We ask the Lord that you continue to pray for the speakers, and that you continue to give them knowledge and insight, clear understanding, and clarity of speech in the presentations. We ask that as we break here, that you continue to guide and shield us from harm and danger. And we ask, oh Lord, your will, once more we will meet again, that all we will have a successful and engaging session. This, oh Lord, is our prayer. Through Christ's name we pray. Amen. So thanks again. And at this time, you're all dismissed. Have a good evening.